What do you want? Revenge?
Tariq interfering in family business broke us.
Leave Anya alone. We don't need Noma coming around here sniffing out.
Keep your eyes on Tariq.
But no, when enough is enough.
Just say the word.
You can't kill me. Nothing can.
We all know one of the themes for this season is father like son, and what Tariq says at the end of this trailer sounds very similar to what Ghost was saying right at the end of his time on Power, towards the end, where he thought he was finally at the top of the game, where nothing could stop him. That was one of his signature lines.
Nothing is gonna stop me.
For Tariq, he's gonna have a very similar mindset going into episode 5, but will he make the same mistake as Ghost, or will he be able to take it that one step further? As we know in Power, it's never as simple and there are going to be a lot of added complications. There's going to be Tariq's baby with Diana, a potential relationship with Anya, his and Brayden's operation being under the microscope of Noma and Kane, Detective Carter's on the hunt. Meanwhile, the Tejadas are also looking to get back to being family first, or at least Monet is. But for Tariq, if he wants to be at the top of the game, so to speak, he'll need to turn into the apex predator, maybe even take all the good parts of Ghost and all the bad parts. But with that being said, we're going to run through all the clues and major talking points from the trailer for episode 5. And as always, tying in some scenes from the official trailer, season trailer, and any of the teasers that match up to the mid-season finale, whereafter, there will unfortunately be a 2-month break. After episode 5, Power Book 2 Ghost will be returning on September the 6th. But let's get into the title and synopsis. Now the title for episode 5 is Ego Death, and the synopsis reads: Tariq is sent on a journey of self-discovery that gives him clarity on what his path moving forward must be. As Monet fights to keep her family together, Detective Carter and his task force move in on the Tejadas. Now let's take a look at this episode title in a bit more detail, because I do think it gives us a few answers as to why we see Tariq standing in Club Truth, which I personally believe is a hallucination. Now, ego death actually refers to the loss of one's sense of self, a transformation or where someone has a bit of a psychological shift. It can happen through a hallucination, a nightmare, but fundamentally, it will change a person's identity and how they perceive themselves. So, when we talk about ego death, it doesn't necessarily mean a death in the streets. What I feel it could mean in this particular situation is a death of Tariq St Patrick's previous identity, him coming to terms with leaving behind who he was before, and turning into this apex predator, maybe even admitting he's just like Ghost, something he's been in denial about ever since the beginning of Book 2 Ghost. So, this scene where we see Tariq standing in Club Truth, which I personally believe could be a hallucination scene, could be Tariq's very own Franklin Saint moment, where he comes face to face with himself, where he realizes he has to kill his old self and transform, where there's kind of a rebirth, change of perspective and outlook. Ego death can also be a bit of a humbling experience for Tariq, where he kind of comes to terms with all of his vulnerabilities and weaknesses. Him not being able to see the chessboard clearly, which was highlighted by Effie in this conversation in 404, is definitely one. So maybe this is the moment which completely changes his perception. Maybe it's the rude awakening he needs to fully unleash and become this monster, this apex predator. So that's where we are with my general thoughts around what they could mean for ego death. Now, where we've just been through Tariq having to undergo a change of identity, something that will no doubt change him going forward is a baby of his own. We've got Tariq and Diana at a clinic, where Diana also undergoes a scan. We heard Monet dropping the bombshell that Diana was pregnant, with Diana confirming the baby is Tariq's, which I don't think we can actually be 100% certain of at this moment in time. Let's see if Tariq pushes ahead with a DNA test, but in my opinion, from a storyline perspective, to make things more complex for Tariq and the Tejadas, it does actually make sense for the baby to be Tariq's, and I do think he or she, or shit, who knows, maybe even twins, is definitely Tariq's. But the relationship between Diana and Tariq really is complex, and I'd say pretty fragile at this moment in time. We'll hear Tariq confronting Diana again, how she nearly got his mother killed, and so Tariq, he's still not over being betrayed, nor will he be able to trust Diana or any of the Tejadas going forward, that's for sure. Now on the topic of trust, let's move over to Brayden and Tariq. In this conversation where they look like they're at the rooftop, Brayden asks what does he want? Does he want revenge? And I think Tariq's answer will be he wants it all. That's what Tariq wants. He wants revenge. He wants to be at the top of the game. He wants to bring down Noma and the Tejadas. He wants to make real money, and he also wants to protect his family at the same time. And I think him reaching the top of the game and achieving everything that we've just been through, he believes that will allow him to keep himself safe and also his family safe. At the end of the day, Tariq just wants to protect his family. However, with Tariq, I do feel like he loves power and control. I think he tried his hand at being a civilian, but he prefers being a gangster. He likes being the man in charge, the man who's controlling the chess pieces, very similar to his father, he likes to be above everybody looking down at his empire that he's built, where he's got a clear vision of the chessboard, but to do that, he's gonna have to turn into the apex predator to reach the top of the game, and also kind of turn into Ghost.
I gotta use all the good parts of him, the bad parts of him. They gotta get what's coming to them.
You can't kill me. Nothing can. Not when you're at the top of the game.
Now, this is where I feel like he's making the same mistake as Ghost. When you're at the top of the game, the only way is down, and just like he's gunning for top spot, there is going to come a time where someone's gunning for him, just like there was for Ghost. So if I were in Tariq's shoes, I'd be very careful about when and if he does reach the top of the game.
Leave Anya alone. We don't need Noma coming around here sniffing shit out.
Now in the trailer, we've also got Brayden warning Tariq, leave Anya alone, because they don't need Noma finding out what they're up to, and I do have to agree with Brayden. Even though I think he's making a huge mistake with Elle himself, Tariq messing with Anya is just asking for trouble. Noma is someone who's most likely got security watching her every move, especially after Tariq tried to get to her in 401. So, I wouldn't be surprised if that's how Noma rumbles this underground operation.
I can't wait to see his body turn cold.
Now, we can only assume she's talking about Tariq, and we all know how much Kane would love to pull the trigger, he just needs the word. But again, Tariq having a baby with Diana, it really complicates this situation around killing Tariq. But with Noma, I'm sure she'll find out Tariq is running drugs. Whether she finds out what Tariq's up to with Anya, maybe that's something they've kind of kept under the radar, and maybe that would kind of come to the forefront in part 2. In my breakdown for episode 4, I raised the point how it makes sense for Tariq to play the same game Kanan played with him, where he poisoned his mind against Ghost. So let's see if Tariq does anything similar, because there are a lot of secrets he could expose. Now on Davis McLean, as long as the money keeps rolling in, Davis is on your side. But let's not forget, it was Tariq who sent Davis to Noma.
I think you could be a big help in that and get paid while you're back.
I'm listening.
Regardless, even if the chess move is from Tariq, the game he's playing is still very dangerous, because playing both sides never really ends well. There's also this scene we haven't seen yet, which I am also expecting to be in episode 5, which is Davis and Tariq meeting with Noma and Kane. Maybe it's around Tariq selling product again, but who knows. Either way, Tariq does need to be very careful around Davis. Now moving to law enforcement, we hear Carter saying keep your eyes on Tariq, although we don't exactly know who he's speaking to. The obvious choice is of course Kamal Tate, but would anybody be surprised if it's Elle? Because I just don't trust her, she's giving really undercover cop vibes. But we all know how they manipulate these trailers where voiceovers don't necessarily match the scenes we see, so it's definitely worth a thought. But a few more on Carter. This is the episode where we'll also see him catching Drew and one of his soldiers, where he takes one down, and Carter really is an interesting player. I raised a point in my breakdown around how Carter seemed to throw Kamal Tate off the scent of Zion. He told him to focus his efforts on Tariq, but I wonder if he's keeping him in line because he doesn't want Kamal Tate digging into him too much, because if he does, maybe he uncovers how dirty Carter really is, and that's where I actually feel they're taking his character. I think at some point, he's going to have the Tejadas right where he wants them, he'll have Tariq on a string, and maybe even Kamal Tate if he doesn't take his warning. So, Carter's beginning to ruffle some feathers, and I personally wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being connected to a criminal organization. Now on Monet and the Tejadas, we've got Monet saying Tariq interfering in family business broke them, and they need to focus on getting back to being family first. Now this is where I do have to actually disagree with Monet. The only person who hasn't gone behind her back is Tariq. Kane, Diana and Drew, they've all betrayed her at some point, whereas with Tariq, he's been all about business until the Tejadas tried to snake him. Let's also not forget, Monet's also the one who brought Tariq into the family operation. She made that decision. So just like Jeanette said.
But being in this house, over the past few weeks, I see it now. You the problem.
Now regardless, Monet will be trying to get her family back together. She'll be asking who I assume is Kane, whether he's in or out. But in the same meeting, Drew will be saying, what family? So, her intentions might be to try and get the family back together, but is it too late? I certainly think so. Especially considering Kane is done being a mama's boy, and I'm not too sure whether Drew can get over the death of Gordo and Lorenzo, even if Monet has chosen the path of forgiveness. Now elsewhere we can also expect there to be a hell of a lot of action in episode 5. We've got Monet back in the street taking a shot at a van, and we've also got Kane in a cage fight versus Zion, and this matchup is going to be real interesting. However, the first question is, how and why did they end up in this ring? Could it be because Zion figured out Kane torched Roman's product? Could Carter be feeding the info to Zion, which gets Kane caught in Zion's crosshairs, because we all know how Carter loves to cause chaos? The next question is, who's gonna win. Now in the trailer and teasers we've seen, it does look like Kane is on top in this fight, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's just what they want us to see. It was said by Davis in 402 that Zion grew up in this ring, so even though we see Kane with the upper hand in the trailer, I wouldn't be surprised if this fight went the other way. There's also Brayden at the fight club, although it is kind of hard to tell who's grabbing him, maybe it's Zion, but with him on that powder now, I do wonder how crazy Brayden really will become, so that's just something to keep an eye on. But that's a breakdown of where we are at this moment in time on the chessboard going into episode 5. So drop all your thoughts and predictions down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.